Okay, so since we will discuss the introduction and methods in our outline, let's go on and look at methods. So, methods of your paper answers the question, how did I study the topic? How did I study it? And it really is a description of what you did. It's a description of what you did. Now, I find in making an outline, this is the best way to talk about methods. In order to determine cleanliness of a restaurant, I did surveys of people asking if they if they looked in the kitchen and the kitchen was clean. Or I did surveys of my friends that went to a restaurant and asked if they ever got sick in that restaurant. Okay, so in other words, you force yourself into cause and effect by using this construction. In order to, I did. So that's, I think, a very, very good way to look at methods. Now, one of the things that's very useful is to take a copy of your methods. Give them to a colleague, and ask whether they could repeat the experiment based on what you wrote in your methods. Okay, so you take your methods from when you're writing your research, not for the project, unless you want to for the project, that's fine. But you take your methods and you give them to a colleague and say, read these. Could you do what I said I could do based on this? Is enough information given? Because, and a colleague that's maybe in biology but in a different field, you do that. Okay, I think that's a very, very useful way of doing it, because unfortunately the methods is really it's the idea of how we convey information, whether it's repeatable, whether other scientists could do the methods that we are using. Okay, now let's talk a little about results. Okay, the results, of course, are a description of what you found in your experiments. In the results, you separate facts from inferences. Inferences meaning what you think. You're not sure of it, but you think, or it's your ideas. So this is why we always keep results and discussion separate, because the results are what you found. The discussion is what you think it means. What you found versus what you think it means. So that's very, very different. Now, we present the results in a logical sequence that may correspond to our objectives. Remember our listing 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a good way to start if we can. And results are best if short. One of the things that's very important, and I really want to emphasize this, is use graphs and tables to present your results. Don't just use statistics. Present graphs of what your results mean. Now, let me ask you this. And I want you to talk about, maybe in groups of 2 or 3 at a table. When do you decide to use a graph with 2 axes? And when do you use a table where you would list numbers? Okay, so I just want to kind of continue so we will get through the discussion and then we will break until Monday. The real difficulty with tables and figures is repeating the same information. Remember, your figure is used for illustrating trends, illustrating relationships. Tables are important for the exact number. Rarely would you put the same information in both a table and a figure in the same paper. It's not necessary. So you decide what is important. Is it the relationship or is it the exact number. Okay, finally, one of the problems that students often have is when they do research and they collect information, they try to put it in a paper even though it has nothing to do with the objectives. So when you are taking a bit of information that you have collected, always look and see if it doesn't fit the objectives of the paper, it does not belong in that paper. And this is very, very difficult for students because oftentimes they have put a lot of time and a lot of effort in collecting data, and they want to use every single bit of it. So that's really where I want to go today. Again, to repeat, the results should be brief. We remember that if we are using figures, the figures show relationships, the tables show exact numbers. And finally, that the results are best if they're short. So when we start on Monday, we will have a few volunteers come up and talk about how outlines and, for example, of their research or of any question you want. And then we will follow through with a little more information about the organization of the paper. And if you look at the handout that I gave you, we will actually follow a series of letters written to an editor about how we go through the entire scientific publication process. Okay, so any last questions or anything I can cover? Please remember that I am in room 704 in this building. If you want to come at any time to talk to me and or just have a cup of tea, I enjoy it very, very much. And or just tell me about your research. That would be wonderful as well. And I hope to see you on Monday, and thank you very much. Arigato.